to the Q Code. Your curiosity quest starts here.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Q Code podcast. Another wonderful week of questions answered. I'm one of your hosts, Travis. I've got Danny and Alan with me. How you doing, guys?
Good.
Wonderful.
How are you guys? The Q Coders, as we like to call it.
Are you addressing the people that can't answer back? How's everybody doing out there?
It's awfully quiet.
But yes. Welcome into the Q Code podcast. We're happy to be here another week. We've got a good show for you today, but like always, going to start off with a little something just to kind of get the conversation flow going. And I have a really important question. I am, if you follow our Instagram page or Facebook page, I guess we also have a Twitter, but I'm really horrible at Twitter. I'm just going to admit it. I don't get it.
Yeah, me neither.
I think, don't our things post kind of in Twitter when you do it?
Oh, they do.
Oh, okay.
I know they post in there. I just don't get, I don't know. I never go in Twitter, but that's because we're not famous. So only famous people know how to work Twitter. But anyway, so I am doing the posts basically what each Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday leading up to our episode. I do a post to kind of get people ready and to know what's up, what's coming. And I posted something this week, and I'm a little disappointed because I'm pretty sure because of what it was, a lot of people didn't like it. And Alan, you usually share the things that I post.
I did. I've shared all of them, haven't I?
No, you did not.
What?
Trump's head.
Oh, that one.
I'm almost positive. And Daniel, your wife normally likes everything that we post on our social media, but there was nothing from your wife. No likes.
She it's not the biggest fan of Trump.
I just want to point out,
you did say whether you're a fan or not in the post.
I don't even care for Trump. And I just picked it because I thought it was funny. His head is like a seashell.
Oh, you're right. I didn't. I just looked and I didn't repost
I think
that.
of anything we've ever posted, that one got the least amount.
I know. And you know, I thought about it beforehand. I was like, are people going to think like I'm actually like posting something about Trump? I was like, it has to do with the Fibonacci sequence. Like, what does Trump and the Fibonacci sequence have in common? Literally nothing. Just somebody decided to put that little seashell thing over his head.
The way you said that, though, almost sounded like Trump. Literally nothing. Wait, that's not how Trump sounds.
Literally nothing.
Oh, yeah, I forget. I'm not good at
Who is this
voices.
Fibonacci anyways?
Does
he have $1 billion?
You're fired. That's
I know.
It's huge. You're fired.
Is this Fibonacci character from China?
Who are you?
Trump.
That's Trump?
Isn't that how he says it?
China.
China.
I don't know.
Fibonacci was a loser.
Anyway,
That's more like a mob guy.
I know. Fibonacci just tried to make rabbits and came up with numbers that match Trump's head.
Which led to the golden ratio.
You're fired. Anyway, that's all I really wanted to say. It was funny because before I posted it, I was like, people are going to think that I'm actually posting something about Trump, but I just thought it was funny.
At first I was going to say that, well, maybe it's just that people don't, and I still think this is true, but I don't think a lot of people read like what we actually write, which I know you put thought into it. Whenever I write the show notes or I write anything, I put a lot of thought into it. It always makes me wonder how many people actually read them.
Please read our words.
Because we try so hard to make them witty and funny And I love the descriptions that I put for the Dream-isodes.
I actually do. I like those.
I like
look
the
forward to
descriptions
those.
I do for our episodes. Like, it just depends. I mean, everything. We put a lot of work and time and thought into it. And then, yeah, I'm sure people just saw a picture of Trump. But on the picture, it says, what is the Fibonacci sequence, right? Or
Yeah.
what's so special about the Fibonacci?
What's so special about the
Yeah.
Fibonacci sequence? And people are probably just looking at it. They're like, that's Trump. That's not Fibonacci. So-
Trump and Fibonacci look a lot alike.
But anyway.
Well, speaking of social medias and those type of platforms, I think we have some shout outs, don't we?
We do have some shout outs.
We wanted to shout out to a couple of people. We've done this on a previous episode as well, but we have a couple others we'd just like to share the love with, since they've shared a little with us in the form of content or comments. And
Yes, we love
interaction.
comments. I mean, it just gives us an opportunity to talk with you guys.
We love comments, follows, subscribes, ratings.
Anything really that just gives us some kind of attention or some kind of feeling that you guys are out there, that you actually care and that you actually listen.
So we're not just talking to each other, because trust me, we can
just
do this without microphones.
yeah, just do it over the phone. But no, I'll shout out to Megan Givens. She's been an active user on Instagram, so keep up the good work.
Follower,
And-
user,
well, I'm sure she's following us on Instagram, but she's been commenting.
active user. Just sounds weird that
Yeah.
way.
She's been a commenter,
Like a
and although
like
her
an active-
comments,
a drug
her
user.
comments,
He's an active drug user.
although her comments usually come in the form of making fun of one of us, I still find it entertaining.
Yeah, I will have to admit that there was a conversation that was going on. What was it about? How I don't.
Oh, that you're scared of everything?
Yeah, or that that I like.
spiders.
Well, that I shout out things like, I don't want anything to do with that. Or something. And I remember, like, just one day I go onto our Instagram page, and all of a sudden there's this conversation going on. I'm like, what the heck is this? I don't say things like this, but apparently I do. But you know what? It's because Danny and Alan always talk about things I don't want, like going to Mars. I won't go to Mars.
Trav's he's just scared, and he's also a little bit scared of having comments on Instagram about him. So
I know.
that's just one more thing
I'm a
he's
little
scared of.
self-conscious.
We'll talk again in 500 million years when the sun has heated up and boiled the Earth's oceans away and Mars has become in the habitable zone.
Okay,
Then
yeah, well,
we'll see
I will
if you
be-
want to go to Mars.
I will be long gone.
What? You're not going to be alive then?
No.
But
But
and then don't we have one other shout out?
yes, we do have another shout out. Who be that, Alan?
Apparently, they're the original Ruby on YouTube.
Yeah, no numbers
that's-
or
that- yep.
other letters, just Ruby.
That's their username, Ruby.
So yes, thank you for comment. Ugh.
Whoa, Trav, you just went back. I thought I was the only one that did that.
Thank you for commenting and talking with us.
Ruby, you got him to crack. His voice cracked.
now. Still reaching that point. But yes, like I said,
Well,
we
who knows? You might live 500 million years if you're still just going through puberty
I know.
after
We discussed that.
35 years.
Yeah, we discussed that for a very long time last episode, didn't we?
That is true. I guess we should quickly, even though this will be released a week later, but we should just do a quick happy birthday, Trav.
Oh,
I
thank
know your birthday
Happy,
will
happy
have been
birthday.
over a week past when this airs, but it's still within a month of your birthday.
Yes. Yeah.
Within the month of your birthday.
Yeah, I'm getting up there. My bones are starting to crack just for no reason. So it's sad. But
So that's the standard now is like anywhere plus or minus 30 days of their birthday, you can wish them a happy birthday, and it's not like you just forgot it.
yep.
You just say,
You get a
"Hey,
60-day window.
I know your
around-
your birthday's coming up. Happy birthday!" Or you can say, "Happy birthday, belated."
Belated. Belated. But All right. Well, yes. Thanks everybody for commenting and just for interacting with us. We enjoy that part of it quite a bit. So, but let's get on with the show, shall we?
So what questions do we have today, Trav?
Yeah, we're going to start out with your question, Dan, which is, what is the origin of the kaiju? If you've seen some movies, you might know. I'm sure we will talk about it. I don't want to.
Any movie.
I don't want to give. I don't want to give much away because I know that's probably a big part of your conversation. We'll then move on to Alan's question, which is, what is Starlink? I do not know, so we will find out, and I will be educated just like all the rest of you.
Let's just put it this way. Starlink will probably affect more of your lives than you guys think.
I wonder how many people heard that and right now are thinking of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's Star-Lord.
I was actually thinking Skynet for some reason.
Oh, Skynet. Yeah,
but
Terminator software or whatever.
Yeah. And then we'll move on to my question, which are who are the forgotten generation? I cannot talk today.
Trav just forgot how to read. So
but anyway, let's get going on with Dan's question.
All right.
Sounder is
all right.
Literally just a bunch of
just
noise.
It's like, what the hell's
that
going on?
That just got my blood boiling. How about you guys?
Well, that was from Godzilla, the movie that came out a couple years ago. The newer
2014.
Godzillas. That was from
Godzilla
that one?
movie.
That wasn't from Pacific Rim?
No, it was from Godzilla.
Yeah, why did you even use Pacific Rim?
So,
anyways,
they specifically talk about the kaiju.
I was hoping that we could say if anyone could guess what movie this comes from. But Alan,
you didn't inform me earlier.
Gave that away.
Having done this before, you have to let us know beforehand.
But yes, that was from the Godzilla movie. So
now I want to see. I haven't seen the new Godzilla, like the King of the Monsters that just came out. I want to now.
So
this one wanted to before. I know how much you wanted to see it.
That just reinvigorated my desire to watch it again.
It was from the Godzilla one that was just a few years ago,
like the 2014.
Okay, not the one with Matthew Broderick.
No,
not that one. Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah, she wasn't in that.
Yeah, she was, wasn't she? She was the girl, like the Sex and the City. Sarah Jessica Parker.
They were in that together.
Yeah, I think
I know they're married. I just didn't know they were in the same movie together.
Oh, are they married?
Yeah.
I haven't watched that one for a long time. So, but yeah, so. I always typically start my questions with, well, why did I have this question? And the answer to that is, I wanted to know what the origin of the kaiju was because of the new Godzilla movie that Alan was just mentioning that came out. So Godzilla, the King of the Monsters, came out in theaters recently. And so it got me thinking, like, well, knowing that Godzilla is a kaiju, where did kaiju... Like, what's the origin of kaiju? And I'm part Japanese. Well, I'm half Japanese. Alan's half Japanese. But kaiju, I know, is a Japanese sounding word, right? So I was like, I'm assuming that it started in Japan.
You think if your son's listening to this, he just thinks that you're saying his name over and over again. Kaiju. Kaiju.
I just say people's names and followed by like a random religion.
Kai's like
Judaism.
Am I
Judaism
part,
is
am I part Jewish?
Kaiju.
He's gonna take one of those DNA tests now and be like, I need to find my Jewish roots.
So that movie came out. It got me thinking.
Did you go see it?
I have seen it.
So you did see the new Godzilla movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
I saw it with Kaiju.
Kaiju.
And is it worth seeing?
Yeah, it's entertaining. If you want Just flat out monster entertainment. It's a great movie.
Okay, good.
If you want like a really in-depth, thought-provoking storyline, not as much.
You don't watch Godzilla for thought-provoking storylines.
I agree, but that's what I was trying to tell people. Or like all the critics are like, this is not that good of a movie.
All I know is that there was a dude in 7-Eleven who loved it because I was looking at some chips and also getting a drink, and he just talking the attendant's ear off, and I could tell that they just wanted him to leave. He was just tell him everything about Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
It's amazing how life shifts. Just on a really quick side note, like at some point in your life, 10, 15 years ago, Trav could have said that sentence, but it would have been, I was looking at some chicks. And this guy was talking about.
Yeah, no, I was definitely looking at chips.
Now it's shifted to, I was looking at some chips. And I get it.
Guys,
Ruffled baked lays.
I'm not going to lie. I look at chips like every day.
His Google search history is just
Extra flaming hot chips.
those X-rated chips, huh?
Yeah.
But anyway, back to this. So yeah, and then recently, meaning in the last couple of years, I've actually started a series on Audible, written by a Jeremy Robinson that actually writes about kaiju as well. And actually, I didn't even know this at first because the kaiju doesn't even pop up until his second book in the series. The first book I just really liked because it was about him going to an island. Well, not him, but like his characters going to this island, and there's like all this crazy stuff happening there, and it's like this old like military base that's on this island from like World War II. The first one was like Island 751 or something. I'd have to look. I'll post them or something.
Obviously, it wasn't that important to you.
It was good. But then the other ones, the reason is they all have like these interesting. They're all like numbers in the name of the book. So
that's why you read them. It's like, oh, numbers.
Hey, that number's a Fibonacci sequence number.
I love numbers.
No, I will neither confirm nor deny that's why I started listening to him. But or I think it's Island 731. Maybe that's what it was. But anyway, for anyone who is interested in that kind of stuff, I would recommend those books. But then that got me thinking, okay, so what is a kaiju really? And so a kaiju, when I Googled it, the first thing that came up is kaiju is a Japanese word meaning strange creature. But the Americans have adopted the word and they mean it as giant monster.
I love that we just take things and change them into things that they're not really.
We enjoy the word kaiju, but we don't want your meaning.
Like Taco Bell. It's like, hey,
Taco Bell.
Hey, we're going to take the idea of Mexican food, we're going to F it up, but we're going to love it.
Speaking of Taco Bell was a big player back in 98 when that Godzilla movie with Matthew Broderick came out.
Yeah?
Do you remember that?
No.
Like, yeah.
What are you talking
they
about?
had
Big player.
all kinds of Taco Bell commercials that had Godzilla in it and the little Yo Quiero
I was going to say, was that back in the day of the Yo Quiero Taco Bell?
Yeah. And so you just
That was
like,
so racist.
but you would see like Godzilla's, like, you'd hear like, and you'd see like his tail, like, and then the dog would be like, Yo Quiero Taco Bell.
It has nothing to do with tacos.
But
And because their hot sauce, like, he downs a bunch of it and then he can shoot fire.
Oh, is that what they did? Oh.
I don't know.
Oh.
That's just
Makes sense.
Don't
That's
they
what I
call
would've
their
done
hot
if I-
sauce like flaming hot or something?
It's fire sauce.
Oh, fine.
Yeah,
See, that works. But yeah, so then now in the new Godzilla movies, I've noticed that they've changed the name again. They don't even call them Titans. They call them
Kaiju.
Kaiju. They call them Titans. So I just thought that was another way for them just to Americanize it even more.
Well, wait, in Godzilla, did they ever call
Well,
him Kaiju?
can I
know
just-
Pacific Rim they did, but
Can I just say that Japanese aren't making any Godzilla movies right now? Somebody's got to. So I guess Americans are going to have to.
Well, actually, that's not entirely true.
Okay, well, I'm not seeing it.
From isn't that
Probably because it's
They're
in
doing
Japanese.
a horrible job at marketing it to the
isn't
Americans.
that a line from Independence Day?
What?
That's not entirely true.
I don't know. That could be a line from anything.
That's like when they're on Air Force One and like they're like talking to the president about Area 51.
Oh yeah.
And he's
Where they're
like, there is
like-
no Area 51. And then that secretary dude's like,
Yeah.
that's not entirely true.
I forgot how much you guys love Independence Day.
It's one of the best movies ever. Maybe that'll just be one of my questions.
Why do I love Independence Day so much?
But anyway, okay, we better get into this. So the history of the kaiju is kind of what I wanted to bring in. Where did it come from? Where did it start?
Where did it come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
Where did it come from? Where did it go? Where did it come from? Cotton Eye Joe. What's that?
Isn't that like...
just wants-
That was sounding more like Japanese, like
That sounded like Beaker from the Muppets. Like,
Oh man, I don't make good.
all right. History of the kaiju.
So, history of the kaiju. So early on, the first time when anyone can identify that the word kaiju appeared anywhere was in an ancient text written in roughly 400 BC by the Chinese in a book called Classic of Mountains and Seas. I think it was about mountains and seas.
okay.
It's just my assumption. But knowing that, so I'm like, that's interesting because it's in a Chinese text, and kaiju is apparently Japanese, right? So I did not actually like verify this anywhere, but I would assume that if it was originally in a Chinese text, but it's a Japanese word now, that it was actually a Chinese text written in kanji, because kanji is a shared written language between the Chinese and the Japanese.
Oh,
So-
kanji kudasai.
Yes, kanji. So I guess it originally was in a Chinese text, but then was adopted into the Japanese language through the what I would guess is kanji. So it goes from there. So then I was like, okay, I'm assuming then that there has to be like all this folklore in ancient Chinese or in ancient Japanese history that would kind of go over the kaiju and talk about the kaiju, right?
Before you go on, and we don't need to have any more of a conversation about this, but I just have to make this comment. Remember when sports hats all had kanji on them?
Oh, that was cool.
Okay, let's go.
I had a California one.
Yeah, I had a Notre Dame one.
I wish they would bring that back. We should do that. So much money.
California.
All right.
You guys know that?
Yep,
Okay.
the wizard.
With what's his face in it?
It's Fred Savage.
Fred Savage, yeah.
All right.
Okay. So
No more
But-
tangents.
turns out that there is no mention of kaiju in ancient Japanese folklore. So I was like, that's kind of weird. But the one thing is, because the thing that was popped in my head originally before I ever started doing any of this research is I'm like, I know there was some kind of creature or monster that is in Japanese folklore. So I was digging deeper. I realized there was, but they're called yokai. And this is something that like growing up a little bit and researching, I was actually kind of afraid of these yokai. And actually this is like interesting, but I'm going to use it maybe in a future episode because I could spend an entire episode talking about yokai.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of different ones, but yokai are basically supernatural monsters in Japanese folklore. So
The Green Girl or the Grudge? They're scary.
these are more like
Again, though,
mystical
those were
monsters.
Japanese things that then America took and made like movies
Yep.
that were huge in America.
Yep.
But they're originally Japanese movies, right?
They're like, Ringu.
Ringu.
Let's just take the U off.
what was that? Grudge.
Graju. Graju kudasai. I just said
Everything to Trav is just if he just adds kudasai.
Yep.
It becomes Japanese.
Orange kudasai.
Do you go and like order chicken teriyaki kudasai?
Yep. That's how I order.
Anyway, so this brings me into more modern day meaning within the last century. So I'm going to give you guys a quick story. Quick meaning like 30 seconds. So there was a boat in 1954 that was fishing in the ocean, and the boat's name was Lucky Dragon 5. It was a Japanese boat. There was a crew of 23 men on it. They were fishing for tuna. They're about 80 miles off the east coast of the Marshall Islands. Well, right when they were there, this just so happened to be when the U.S. military was executing a mission they called Castle Bravo, and they detonated the largest, most powerful hydrogen bomb that they'd ever detonated to date as a test.
Wait, sorry, where was this?
About 80 miles to the east of the Marshall Islands. But in the Pacific Ocean.
Oh, okay.
So, but these guys were close enough that all of a sudden they just saw this big flash of light, and then there was like this nuclear fallout, like ash kind of that just started falling down. But at the time, they didn't know what it was. So it was just it's just speculation, but people think like they probably just were like, oh, what is this? And they played in it and whatever, you know.
In the nuclear ash?
Yeah.
They didn't know it was nuclear.
They were probably just like, what
They're like,
is
guys, let's eat it.
That's radioactive, right?
this? So
I just watched Chernobyl.
Yeah, so
It's a
they
good show,
all-
and that's a horrible way to die.
they all end up going back to Japan after their trip is over. I mean, about 2 weeks later, they show back up, and every single member on the boat is deathly ill.
Yeah.
Because of the
Radiation
poisoning from all this nuclear ash, and they were close enough that they probably just got nuclear radiation from the actual blast. So there was a Japanese filmmaker by the name of Tanaka who worked for Toho Studios in Japan, and he had been wanting to make a movie that had the underlining story of something to do with nuclear weapons or nuclear fallout because of this story that happened to this fishing boat, and also because of what happened in World War II when America dropped two hydrogen bombs on Japan, right? Mm-hmm. So he's kind of he's wanted to make
I
something
don't think
like
they're
this.
hydrogen bombs.
Oh, nuclear.
They're
What
just
were they?
nuclear.
They're atom bombs.
Atom
they were
bombs.
using
Atom bombs, yeah.
using like uranium or whatever it is, plutonium.
You're right, because I think the
'Cause
hydrogen
that was
bomb
fission.
is-
Hydrogen is
Yeah.
fusion. Yeah.
Plutonium.
So what happened is then at the same time, in America, there was a movie that just came out called The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, which was kind of a monster movie. And I saw a couple brief clips on it, and it looks like it's like this, almost like this claymation dinosaur looking thing, like tromping through a city. But he really liked that movie. And so between those two things, it gave him the idea, and he came up with the script for his first movie that he made, or at least his first movie of this type that he made. I'm not sure if it was his first one or not. But in 1954, he released the movie Gojira, which starred what we now know as Godzilla.
Yeah.
So it was the first Godzilla movie that ever came out.
Wait, so is Godzilla or whatever, is that a Japanese word? And
Yeah.
that does not mean Godzilla at all?
I'm assuming that's
Doesn't
how they
mean-
say Godzilla. Gojira. Gojira.
So it's not a Japanese word for God and then like lizard? Like they took American words and made Godzilla, but Gojira?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
We'll have to verify that. But it sounds like Godzilla to me.
Gojira.
But yeah, so Godzilla is known as actually the first kaiju to pop up in a film of any kind, and really the first kaiju that just popped up in not culture, what's the word? Just in modern day times, you know. So if it so before that, like I said, there was the early mention of it in a book, you know, thousands of years ago. But now all of a sudden you have this thing. Well, Gojira became a big thing, and people in America started to notice it. But if you look, like we said, kaiju are really just
Did you
big
say
monsters, right?
Gojira became a big thing.
Ba-doom-tsh. So in America, they've actually had monster movies for a while, but they just didn't call them kaiju. So some people actually say that King Kong is the first kaiju, but they never mention him as a kaiju. So Godzilla is going to take the crown as being the actual first kaiju to show up. So from that moment, we kind of get into knowing that kaiju is not something of ancient origin, but instead is something that's more of just a modern day in the movies kind of a creature, right? So we go from that movie in 1954 in Japan, and in 1956, America released their first Godzilla movie called Godzilla, King of the Monsters. So that was their first one. It was a big success.
Isn't that what this new one is?
So the new one is Godzilla, the King of the Monsters.
Ah, there's the.
Very creative titling.
But this original was Godzilla, King of the Monsters. And then that film was a success. So not only did America start really liking this whole kaiju genre, but the entire world started getting into the kaiju genre. So they all started making their own kaiju movies and trying to capitalize on this whole kaiju craze. And they made other like knockoff versions of kaiju around the world, their own versions. Well, this kind of went on until the 1960s, where they kept making Godzilla movies and other kaiju movies, and the 1960s became what they call the golden age of the kaiju. So this apparently was like when they were at the peak of their popularity.
The 19 what?
60s.
60s.
So
a lot of people were on acid then, so.
Yeah. So it made sense that they would want to go see.
Dude, that's so big.
And then that was, I think, also when they would be putting like humans in Godzilla and kaiju costumes. So it looks funny because they're running around like a human being, basically.
You mean like Power Rangers? Like,
yeah, pretty much. Things didn't change much from then until Power Rangers, I think. So
stupid putties.
yeah. Do you ever wonder though, like sometimes when you have like, because it's like Ninja Turtles, they had the Foot Clan, and in Power Rangers they had those like putty characters, whatever. But really, they're like, or even in Star Wars, they had like the original stormtroopers before you really got the backstory of the stormtroopers, right? Mm-hmm. You just felt like these are just such weak opponents.
They're just expendable. They needed a bunch of people that they could kill.
They just need to be able to send a wave of these people that just get their butts kicked. But anyway, so you go from that 1960s, then you get into the 1970s. Well, the trend starts to die off, and so they consider the industry kind of dead in the 1970s. It wasn't until 1978 that they released a 26-episode Godzilla animated series, but it wasn't met with much success. It kind of was a flop, and then they had to wait again until 1984 when they released a new Godzilla movie. And between the years 1984 and 1995, they call this the Heisei period, or Heisei period, I'm sorry. And this, according to like a lot of the big, huge kaiju and Godzilla fans, they consider this like the best decade of Godzilla movies.
Way to go, 80s.
Are these like the movies that like you get the classic people joking about like the mouth's not moving with the words, so they're like they move their mouth and then they're like Godzilla.
They're dubbed.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I've not watched most of these, or the ones I have. I can't tell you if they were from the 60s or the 80s.
yeah, because I know as
You
kids,
should be able to tell.
I know as
I
kids,
think they're from the 60s. The ones that I've seen.
I know as kids, at least me, I remember watching a lot of these different Godzilla, like Mothra, Godzilla versus Mothra or whatever. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what time period they were from. They were just old looking though. It was like literally the guy in the rubber suit as Godzilla.
Yeah, and I'm sure the ones that you're thinking of like that though were the ones that are literally made in Japan. And they were dubbed into English.
Yeah,
here.
Yeah, but there was what you're talking about, right? Is there was a movement of American-made Godzilla or kaiju films through the 80s, right?
I cannot remember if they were specifically American made or if they were also Japanese made, if they were a combination of the two, but there were several movies that were released in that era.
They were kaiju.
Yeah.
They were kaiju movies.
So that they deemed the best era. Well, the last one of those came out in 1995, and then in 1998, none other than the creators of Independence Day decided to make a new movie that they called Godzilla. And so that's the one we were talking about earlier with Matthew Broderick and Taco Bell.
Yeah.
So even though this movie came out and was actually, I mean, it wasn't a giant success, but it was successful enough from a monetary standpoint. Like, kaiju fans hated the movie because it did not match what they know about kaiju.
Well, because what Godzilla is he's a protector, right?
Exactly.
And in that movie, he was the destroyer.
Yeah. So Godzilla in that 1998 film was portrayed as just a monster that was out to just destroy things, and I think it didn't lay like a bunch of eggs in the
Madison Square Garden.
Yeah. But yeah, like they didn't follow it. There were other gripes that kaiju traditionalists and a lot of Japanese people did not like about the American depiction. Was not only that, but also the fact that kaiju are supposed to be awoken from our nuclear weapons or the use of nuclear weapons, but not created by nuclear weapons. So that was another thing that they didn't like. So there's kind of those discrepancies between the two. Well, that brings us now into the more modern frame, where after that, it wasn't really until Pacific Rim in 2013 till the kaiju really started making a comeback. Mm-hmm. And since then, there's been Pacific Rim and then Pacific Rim Uprising in 2018. Godzilla, the movie, came out in 2014, and Godzilla, King of the Monsters, came out in 2019.
I did not like the second Pacific Rim.
Yeah.
Near as much as I did.
The first one was
the first one was
awesome.
much better. Yeah.
It was amazing, actually.
Yeah.
The second one was.
They kind of botched the story, I think. But the
was a
point
cash
is,
grab.
now that they've come out with these newer movies, though, they've actually gone back to some of the origins and the traditional story of the kaiju. So, like, this new Godzilla series is actually paying
Homage
to homage.
There's no H, is there?
It's spelled with an H.
Yeah, but it's silent like herbs.
But yeah, to the traditional, like you said, Trav, I mean, where Godzilla is a protector, the kaiju are awoken by nuclear, things not created by nuclear things. So I think that I personally like that better. I like that they're going back to like the traditional storyline, and then they're just much better at doing the special effects now. So I'm not going to lie. I'd much rather watch the current ones than the old ones, because if I want to watch the old ones, I'll just go buy a dinosaur suit and film myself running around.
Please do.
But I think it adds an extra layer of depth when you, instead of like our nuclear weapons creating them, that they are, like they've just been here from before we were here, and so that like adds a depth of like respect.
Yeah,
to the kaiju,
because they're not something we made as men. They're something that are
there's something like even more like maybe bigger than humanity
that was
like
created by a higher power, or whatever. Yeah. So anyway, that just brought me into so I just want to know, how many Godzilla movies have there been? I found a list on IMDb that said that there was 33 Godzilla movies created to date, but that doesn't quite exactly add up to the things I found on Wikipedia. But Wikipedia did break it down. So there's 4 different periods of Godzilla movies that they call. The first period was from 1954 to 1975. It was the Showa period. There's 15 movies in that period. Then they had the Heisei period, which people said was the best period.
The 80s, right?
The 1984 to 1995, and there were 7 movies in that period. Then there was the Millennium period, 1999 to 2004. There were 6 movies. And then the Reiwa period was 2016 to present, and there's been 4 movies so far in that period. So these are still being created, I think, by
2006 to present?
2016 to present. So I think they're are actually Godzilla movies being created still in Japan.
Okay. So, I was going to say, because I only know of 2.
But yeah, so that's kind of the history of the film of Kaiju and Godzilla. So some of the famous Kaiju, though, can you guys name some? Obviously, the biggest one is
Godzilla.
Yep.
And King Kong.
Yeah, but you could consider King Kong a Kaiju
Mothra.
now. Yep.
The one with the many heads.
Ghidorah.
Ghidorah.
The Cloverfield thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
That's a good one.
I actually really liked that movie. A
Me
lot
too.
of people hated it, but I liked
liked it.
Cloverfield.
So yeah, there's Godzilla. Everyone knows who Godzilla is. Mothra is another one, and that's where it's the giant moth thing that apparently is like considered. If Godzilla is considered the king of the monsters, Mothra is the queen of the monsters, and apparently she's like, what's the word when you can't die?
Immortal.
Immortal. Yeah.
Didn't we
I should know that since
Just
we
talked
just-
about it last week.
Yeah, our last episode.
But yeah, Mothra is immortal. She can actually like die to a certain degree, but then she just is reborn. Apparently, is the story behind her, and then she comes back. Rodan is basically a giant pterodactyl
So
kaiju.
Mothra's like Doctor Who. Or
I swear you bring up Doctor Who. Like,
Because he's watching it right now.
no, I
we've
finished it.
talked about Doctor Who on like every other episode.
It's one of the most amazing shows I've ever watched, guys. I binged
It
watched.
doesn't matter what we talk about. We could just talk about kaiju. We could talk about like any like what are some of the other topics that we had that are just totally different.
Well, it's because Doctor Who covers so much,
Talk
so
about
many things.
Fibonacci numbers. We talk about the Nealon brothers. It just doesn't matter. It's just like, like on Doctor Who.
Okay, what?
But anyway, Rodan is the pterodactyl that's basically like born from a volcano and has fire on it or whatever. Ghidorah is the 3-headed kaiju that's like a dragon and shoots electricity out of its mouth. And apparently, I don't want to give away too much, but let's just say that Ghidorah may not be of this planet. If you watch the new movie. The Muto are the ones that were in the first Godzilla movie that came out in 2014. Not the first one ever, but the one more recently. So yeah, those are some of the big, most famous kaiju. So in the end,
Oh, the things that kind of look like just giant versions of like. I always thought they looked like the Starship Trooper aliens that they're fighting,
Yeah.
kind of.
but just like giant versions.
I almost
of
like
those.
think of them like they kind of almost have a praying mantis-y kind of
Oh yeah, that's true,
look
yeah.
too. But yeah, so in the end, my conclusion is I just always had an affinity for Godzilla because it was Japanese and I'm part Japanese, so I always thought kaiju were cool. I thought the word kaiju was cool, and that's pretty much it.
Cool word.
So cool. There is one kaiju movie that I've seen. It's actually, I think it's made from Korea. So it was a Korean monster film. I can't remember what year. I want to say like 2006, but it was called The Host.
I saw that. I remember that.
And it is an amazing movie. You can't watch it with the English dubbed, though. You have to watch it with the subtitles. If you watch it,
Why?
Because it ruins it.
Oh,
Because then you have the weird overlay, like Alan was
Yeah, and the voices don't match the people, and it's just. But anyway, it's about this guy who when you watch the movie, he is not your typical hero. He is a pudgy dude, overweight, just kind of clumsy. People make fun of him, and he has this daughter, and all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, there's this big monster that comes and starts killing people and taking people, and
Actually, I think I've seen this.
his
movie.
daughter is one of them that gets taken, and the monster takes her back to his lair to have her eat her later. It's
I'm gonna save
it's
you
like
for later.
just a little snack, and so he just goes on this quest to go get his daughter back, and it is amazing.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it
Me
because
too.
I think it was on
I know I've
Netflix
seen
for a
it.
while.
I
know I've
vaguely
seen it, but
remember it.
I don't really remember it.
So
Yeah.
you should watch it.
Sweet.
It is great. But
So that's some good insight there, Trav. But yeah, to wrap up, do you guys have a favorite kaiju story, kaiju moment? I mean, that was kind of a kaiju story.
That
right
was
there,
my
I guess.
kaiju story.
My favorite is just Godzilla. Since I was a kid, it's like I've always loved Godzilla. I don't know if do you remember watching it with the Namba family?
Yeah,
Like
I
they were another Japanese family that we knew growing up, and we were friends. And like I just have vague memories of watching it with like their kids, like Spencer and Doug and stuff.
Yeah. No, I think it's every half Japanese or full Japanese kid's pastime.
That and Tamagotchi.
Tamigos or something? Or were they
Tamagotchis.
Tamagotchis, yeah. I thought you said Tamadachis. Okay. All right. I think that's it. So let's jump into Alan's question, which is, what is Starlink?
Such an ugly sound.
I know.
The very end of that sounded like something fell, like in a shed. Did you guys hear it?
I did
No,
not.
but we don't have to listen to it again.
It's like,
But at my work, we still use fax.
Oh
For-
yeah,
for certain
everybody
things.
uses fax.
Yeah,
I
we
hate
do too.
faxing.
It's we just need a document scanner, so everything just turns into PDFs and you email it.
Yeah,
Like I need to talk to our director and be like, let's
faxing
just do
is an
that.
outdated. No, everybody still has faxing.
and it's the dumbest thing.
but like, see, we have
It's so
we
slow,
have the PDF
unreliable.
scanning.
Half of the faxes don't even go through.
We have the PDF scanning technology at the bank I work at, which is great. And yes, most people, that's what they want now. But we still have to keep a fax because there are some people on the other end who want the fax.
Gah.
So I think it's just
Stupid.
exciting. Although, like, quick side story on a fax. One of my coworkers told me a story about her mother-in-law, I believe it was, and she was trying to fax something, and she just kept faxing it over and over and over again. And she's like, "What are you doing? Like, why do you keep faxing that piece of paper?" And she's like, "It's not working." And then she's like, "What do you mean it's not working? It went." And she's like, "No, look, I put the paper in and it comes out. It's not going away."
What, you think like the paper's gonna like?
She really thought the paper like would just disintegrate and then go over the lines and then form on the other side.
People are stupid.
I am actually waiting for the teleporter where I can just take a stack of papers and literally send it physically to whoever I want.
So you
kinda
pretty
like
much isn't that just
Big
in,
old like bank tube.
Charlie and the chocolate factory or whatever?
Yeah.
Is that what they do?
Like with the
Mike
TV.
TV?
Yeah,
Yeah.
He wants figures out a way to
Teleport matter.
something into the TV.
oh.
But anyway, so what is Starlink, Alan?
So Starlink is the SpaceX. I don't know if you've heard about them.
Space
Because
X. Not space sex, but space X. Who made that up? Was that
It
Musk?
was Elon Musk, yeah.
Space, who owns Tesla.
New, just a different name, maybe. Just think about it. Just think about it a little bit.
Their
of Elon.
logo is cool. Okay. But so SpaceX, owned by Elon Musk, they are working on this project called Starlink. So Starlink is basically SpaceX's next generation network of satellites that they're going to be putting up into space, capable of delivering low latency broadband internet to all reaches of the globe. Like anywhere you are on the earth, you will be able to have internet access. And all you'll need is like they say a pizza box sized antenna. And as long as you have that with you, you're good to be on the internet.
A pizza box
That
size?
seems pretty big.
Well, this is the first go, guys. Okay, this is the first iteration.
So you're running around with
Things
like a
will
pizza box.
things will improve and get smaller, I'm sure.
So the only way that you can use this network would be to have one of these antennae. Then, like, is it something that they're gonna?
Antenna. Why? What's antennae?
You just need to have one of these antennae.
It's not like cactus. Cacti.
The antennae.
It just sounded correct at the time. So, do you buy these somewhere once at some
So
point?
I'm assuming it's basically like your cable box, or like if you have Comcast, you know how they give you like a box. I'm assuming it'd be something like that.
So would you?
just-
So it'd be like a subscription service to
Yeah, like a internet
to
just basically
Starlink. So
to
like
a-
Starlink would be
your
its own
internet
brand.
provider.
Okay.
Yeah, they'd be your ISP, internet service provider. So, yeah, they would be.
So
their
maybe
own
this
brand.
would be a good point to get into what would be the benefit to using the Starlink network versus like a cable network or fiber optic network.
Okay. Well, first of all, a little bit more about what Starlink is, like how it's going to work is eventually Elon Musk and SpaceX will be putting 12,000 satellites into low Earth orbit.
Ooh.
And to give you like a sense of how many that is, currently there are about 2,000 satellites in low Earth orbit that are like operational. Then there's thousands more that are just like dead satellites in like graveyard orbits, still orbiting around, waiting to eventually deorbit naturally and burn up in the atmosphere. So this, he said, I think I read a quote where Elon Musk said, like, within a year or two, SpaceX will have the majority of satellites orbiting Earth. They will surpass the 2,000, and most satellites will just be SpaceX satellites. So the reason you need 12,000 is because you need to create a mesh over the Earth, basically, where you have, I think it was like 4 satellites or over any given area of the Earth that they're providing service for.
So, and maybe you can speak to this better than I can. I just think I saw something that said that they would have a certain amount, like 5,000 of those satellites would be at a lower Earth orbit, and then like 7,000 would be at a slightly higher orbit.
Yeah, so I think there's like 3 shells, and what you just said sounds correct. I think like 7,500 like in the lowest orbit shell, which would be like 350-ish kilometers above Earth. Then you get, I'm not sure how many in the other shells, but you'll get like a shell at 550 kilometers above the Earth, and then another one around 1,000 kilometers above the Earth.
So it's kind of like a staggered system. Is it just built that way so that they don't run into each other?
I really don't know the engineering behind like that, why they're doing that. So I can't go into further into that.
Do you think he works for SpaceX?
Do you? Wait, do you know anything about why they would be putting them in different shells?
No,
This is a leading question. One of those Danny questions, like, I know the answer to you.
No, I don't know the answer to it either from a technical standpoint, other than I would assume that they're creating it as some kind of a staggering system that would help them so that they can cover more area, but also not have the issue where they're running into each other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely running into things in space. Like I said, 2,000 satellites already up there. There's going to be 12,000 with this whole network. Thousands more dead satellites. And then on top of it, NASA is currently, like, they have a whole department just for tracking space debris and junk around the Earth. And currently they're tracking 500,000 individual objects. So it's getting a little bit crowded up there with just things flying around. But SpaceX, obviously, they accounted for this. So every single one of their 12,000 satellites has onboard systems, autonomous systems to use data from like NASA and other resources. And I don't know if they have onboard sensing data too themselves, but to track where all this debris is. And then they have ion thrusters on each satellite that is capable of maneuvering the satellite around other things if there's going to be a collision and avoiding the
Wouldn't it be
collisions.
easier just to create little legs and feet so that when something comes, it can just kick it?
And then they'd start kicking it towards another one, and then it just becomes a giant game of foosball up
And
there.
the problem with
yeah,
that
it'd
is
be
in
cooler than-
problem with that is in space. Like the whole for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction is super true. Like
That's true.
on Earth,
If it kicked it, it would
on
go
Earth
the-
you can punch something and you're not
Okay.
going to move. But in space,
How about
if you hit
legs
something,
and
both things go
thrusters?
flying.
And maybe you were going to cover this, but just in case. So after 5 years of them being in deployment, they're going to come to end of life, is my understanding, and then they're going to automatically come back down, push themselves back down into the Earth's atmosphere, and they'll burn up. So I
Yeah.
did not see anything on this, and I don't know, maybe they haven't announced it yet, but I would imagine once one comes out of orbit, they're going to have to replace it
Yeah.
with another one.
Yeah, this isn't. I mean, this is a long-term thing. They're not. It's not just like they're going to put up the 12,000 and they'll call it quits, because hardware is always improving. You can get better components and improve your design. So SpaceX it's going to be a long-term iterative thing where they're just constantly putting up new satellites that are updated, improved, and replacing the ones that do deorbit and burn up in the atmosphere. Which, by the way, so the ion thrusters that I mentioned earlier that they can maneuver with, those are also there. So when it's at the end of its life, it doesn't just become another dead satellite and add to more space debris. They can deorbit with it, come down in the Earth's atmosphere, let it burn up, and they have made it out of materials where 95% of it in this iteration of satellites that they're putting up, 95% of it will completely be burned up, disintegrated, in the atmosphere. Which I was like, what about the other 5%? Like, there like 12,000 things are just going to be falling on people's heads. Like, what if that just hit your house going at like thousands of miles per hour?
Raindrops
Insurance.
falling on my head. Is that a song?
Nope.
Okay. But again, Elon Musk mentions that in future iterations, they are planning on getting that to 100% of it will be just disintegrated in the atmosphere.
Interesting. So
Do they have a slogan yet? Is it like, "Welcome to Starlink, the fastest effing internet in the galaxy"?
They should.
Yeah.
They should work on that. So another
allow SpaceX to help you stream your SpaceX?
that's. I bet it will be used for probably like 90% of it. Of the
Weird nerds everywhere are going to get
90% of the
dreams
bandwidth
will come
will
true.
be eaten up by that. So currently, only 56% of the world's population has access to the internet, which I didn't know was that low.
56?
Yeah, only 56% of the world's
Okay.
population. I didn't know that. I thought it was pretty ubiquitous by now, but you get out in the middle of nowhere because you have to physically run lines to all the places to wherever people are. But a lot of people just aren't in developed areas of the world. They don't have any
Or
infrastructure.
they're places
Have no way
like, I don't know, like Rose Park in Utah, where I used to work for this company, it was ClearLink, and we sold internet packages. And one of the biggest thing was this Google fiber wire. You guys heard of it?
Yep.
Okay, super fast, right? Everybody wants Google Fiberwire. And that was what got me the most commission. Well, I would get calls every day. You think like, oh, this is going to be easy. People are just like lining up to buy this stuff. Nobody could do it because they all lived in areas that didn't have fiber wire.
I know.
It's ridiculous.
It's still not like I want Google Fiber at my house and I can't get it.
I know. I quit after 3 weeks and 1 day. 3 weeks was training. 1 day was just regular sales.
I actually have Utopia here, so my internet does come in through fiber optics, and it's super nice, super reliable.
Oh, must be like a utopia here.
But it is really fast, and it's just nice. I like it. But this will actually be faster.
How much faster, Alan?
So
Are you having like what is wrong with you? I know this is audio.
Yeah,
you can't see him, but he's having like these major tics right now.
He asked that question and did like this thing with his head, like he was like, it's a mocking question. How much faster, Alan?
It was almost like he was having a seizure or he was being attacked by little bed
I
bugs.
was just trying to act like I was on like a infomercial and being super like animated.
I was like, what are you doing?
Like, how much faster?
All right. So, there's a thing called latency when it comes to the internet, which is basically how long is the round trip travel time for your signal to get to whatever you're trying to communicate, is a server or whatever, and then for the information to come back to you. Right now, the fastest thing we have as far as latency are fiber optic lines. The problem with that is light travels through fiber optic cables through the glass at like 50% the speed of light that light travels in a vacuum. So if you're in space in a vacuum and you're shooting pulses of light back and forth through satellites sending your signal, then it's twice as fast. You don't have that slowed down latency from physically traveling through fiber optic cables. And then also the fact that they're putting these satellites in low Earth orbit, they're like so close to the Earth, like literally 500 kilometers, which just sounds like a lot, but that's super close actually. It's going to be the lowest latency internet that's ever been created.
So basically, from what I saw, and I don't know if you saw the same thing, Alan, this Starlink system, when it's fully operational, should have latency periods, or the internet basically should be about 40 times faster than the fiber optic lines that we have now. So you'll have a huge increase in speed.
Huge.
And this comes into play.
Huge.
And this, if there are any gamers out there, you know how frustrating it is for your character to be lagging and not responding quickly enough to when you're pushing the buttons. It's like literally like a half a second later, and that's not good enough.
I'm gonna be
when
honest,
you're a hardcore gamer.
and this is probably because I'm 36 and I'm an old man now, but I don't have that problem.
I don't.
I don't think that my brain and my fingers move fast enough to ever have a problem. If there is latency, I don't even realize it, because by the time I realize it, my guys, the problem I have is it goes too fast.
No, I've never been a PC gamer, so but
Did you guys ever play Halo back in the day?
I don't play
on
Xbox. I'm a PlayStation guy.
Same thing though.
No.
Same concept. The other
Turns out that maybe we could have a segment on this someday, but yeah, it turns out it's like a big war between Xboxers and PlayStationers. Because I had this whole discussion with my son Kai, and he let me know he's a PlayStationer.
Okay.
Trav's right.
Way to go, Kai. High five.
Trav's right. Dan just adds ers to the end of anything. Q coders, Xboxers, PlayStationers, and is like Evander Holyfield an Xboxer.
Oh. Way to go.
And Mike Tyson that bit his ear off. What was I going to say next?
I don't know.
And then I just really quickly, because we already did an episode on this, and you might want to go back and listen to it if you haven't, because it's a good episode. We talked about high frequency trading, and that's another. So the stock market is another industry sector
That
I guess
could
you want to call it,
benefit
that
from-
could highly change and benefit from a lower latency because, like we mentioned earlier in that episode, every millisecond counts when you're doing high frequency trading.
I feel
And
bad
you're- and
for
we're
that
talking
dude who
billions
spent
of dollars.
millions and millions of dollars building that fiber optic
Exactly.
line. Because
That's
he's
what I'm
gonna
saying.
be out of business.
Elon Musk is going to be the new guy that owns all the infrastructure for the high frequency trading. And then as far as bandwidth, so that's latency is like the ping time. Bandwidth is how much information can you be transferring all at the same time. Every time they do a launch, so they just launched in May the first 60 satellites. That's going to be their standard plan is like basically they'll get to a point where every month they're sending up 60 more satellites, and with every 60 satellites they will add a terabit per second of useful connectivity, meaning for every 60 satellites they put up, you could have 40,000 people all streaming 4K video at once. That's how much bandwidth that is. And they're putting 12,000 up. So, yeah.
That's interesting. So the benefits that right now that I can see over what the infrastructure right now offers is basically internet available anywhere on Earth because it's going to basically blanket the Earth with internet. So whether you're in the middle of a jungle somewhere or you're in the middle of New York City, you can have access to the Starlink network, correct?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you got faster speeds and more bandwidth capability. So better internet, basically.
Yeah,
all
better.
around.
So, yeah, it isn't just for people.
No more buffering.
So it isn't just. So it isn't just for the people that don't have access currently to the internet. It's for people who currently do and just want even better internet.
So they only have 60 satellites currently up there right now. And I saw a couple of YouTube videos showing that you could see in the night sky these 60 satellites like in a train just kind of streaking across the sky.
Yeah.
Is that real? Like, can you really see them? And then if that's the case, once they have all 12,000 up there, what is our sky going to look like? I mean, is it going to look like a
light show hologram? No,
yeah, like, is it basically going to be like we went back in time and now we can just see all the stars again and not have as much of the light pollution causing us not to see them?
So the train that people saw, that only lasted for a little while like right after they launched the Falcon 9 rocket with the payload on it, and then they were deploying the 60 satellites. So they were all stacked on each other, and then once they deployed, they just kind of let them naturally drift apart into a long line to get enough space in between them before they turned on their ion thrusters to actually put them into the correct orbits that they wanted.
Oh, okay.
So you don't want the you don't want to turn on your ion thrusters when they're all right next to each other, and then it'll just like knock them around and like,
I mean, that's just
destroy each
freaking common sense.
Yeah. So naturally let them just drift apart enough. Then you turn on your ion thrusters and put them into a higher orbit. So they actually released them at like 440 kilometers, and then once they were released and drifted apart, then they used the ion thrusters to go to a higher orbit of 550 kilometers.
That makes sense. Yeah, I was wondering at first because you could see like on the video, it's like this tightly packed chain of like 50 satellites, and then kind of behind that there's like another little grouping kind of a little bit further behind, and then there's like these two stragglers that are just like way behind, and I'm like, man, I feel bad for those ones because they're just like all by themselves.
Well, if they had feelings, I'm sure they would feel bad, but
as far as like their visibility now, though, I think you still will be able to see them a little bit, but they're not going to be like any brighter than any other satellites that we already have up there. But you still can't, like, with the naked eye on a very, very dark night, you would be able to see them. the where this really causes problems, though, is for astronomers and astronomy, because there you're not just using your naked eye; you're using telescopes that are bringing in all the light, magnifying it, and all that stuff. So then you can really get like all of these satellites just streaking across your observations and the data you're collecting, which is not good if you're trying to observe things in the outer solar system, in our Kuiper belt that are super dim.
Yeah, you're gonna have to really lean on AI to help you.
Yeah.
Get through all that.
So I haven't done too much research into this, but I know there are some astronomers that are really worried about it, and they want SpaceX to come to the table and have so they can work this all out and mitigate the impacts that it has on
their work.
Yeah, on their work. And ideas, maybe you can paint them black or make sure they're as dark as possible so they're not going to be and anti-reflective as possible. Another one is maybe you can turn their transmission signals off, make sure they're not transmitting over certain parts of the world or of Earth, because signals can get in the way of like radio astronomy, all of that stuff, different wavelengths of light.
Interesting. So,
Yep.
Did you have anything else on Starlink that you wanted to share?
I think that's all I really had.
Okay.
But I'm looking forward. Oh, so Elon Musk, he says, and this is like a Elon Musk timetable, which he likes to say things optimistically, come up with timetables that
Are you getting
kind
at
of-
like when they expect to have this fully operational?
Yeah.
Okay, because that was actually going to be my final question. So,
Oh.
looks like you read my mind.
Okay. So he says within a year, all he really needs for the beginning operational services like that he would offer in the US are 400 satellites. That would be enough to like start getting service to people. And he said that would be like in a year if things go well and they're continuing to launch these satellites into space and get them into orbit, then in about a year you could start seeing people in the US getting service. Then he said once you hit 800 satellites, you start seeing significant service capabilities globally. I don't know how much longer that will take, but
Well, you would think that it would be 2 years.
Well,
if
maybe.
you could do the first 400 in
if
1
things
year.
go right. And then he does have like a deadline set by the FCC government, I guess in some contract they made with an agreement when they said that they would authorize him to do up to 12,000 satellites. He does have to like November of 2027 to have all 12,000 satellites up and working.
So in the next decade, we could potentially see a fully operational Starlink system.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited for that. I would like to have more. I was going to say more better. I would like to have better
Kind of like more better internet.
internet, more reliable internet. So yeah.
For your space sex.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Al. Trav, did you have anything to add to that, or should we jump into your question?
Let's get it going.
All right. Let's jump into Trav's question about who is the forgotten generation.
I heard around big fight up in the lunchroom the other
See,
week.
there it is. Violence at NBC, GE.com. I mean,
Well, Allison should know. What do you
is
say about
internet
Allison?
anyway?
Internet is that massive computer network, the one that's becoming really big now.
What do you mean? That's big. How does one? What do you write to it like mail?
No, a lot of people use it and communicate. I guess they can communicate with NBC writers and producers. Allison, can you explain what internet is?
What is internet?
I've seen that before.
Yeah.
What was that from?
That was from like the Today Show or something back in
90 something.
Yeah.
Katie Couric and
Katie Couric and what's his name?
Sylvester Holt.
No.
I don't remember.
Is it the dude that got
Brian
fired?
Gumble.
Yeah.
Brian Gumble. But anyway, so I wanted to talk today about they've been called different things. The Forgotten Generation, the Nameless Generation, Zennials. But I'll just cut right to the chase. I'll answer the question up front first. The Nameless Generation, or like I said, Zennials, are those who were born pretty much between 1979 to 1985. What year were you born now?
86.
Okay. So you're like...
Oh, Alan didn't make it.
There is no particular, like...
No, it's a
There
hard
is
cutoff.
no line.
It's a hard cutoff in 85.
It's just, this is
to
where...
to be a Zennial?
Well, yes.
Or this forgotten generation, right?
Nameless.
Or nameless generation.
You wrote forgotten on there. I don't know why you wrote forgotten.
Because that's what you posted in the group me.
I say forgotten.
Yeah.
I didn't mean
Because I
forgotten.
was like, I even wrote before, like, nameless. And
I don't know what I
long
said. I think I heard that somewhere too. But anyway, so the thing is that there's this little generation of about, like you said, 6-7 years that just doesn't fit anywhere. I was born in 1984. You were 82. And, we are just a crossbreed stuck in the middle of two generations that blame each other for the world's problems. You have the Gen Xers and millennials. And
Wait, so I'm a millennial.
technically we are all millennials.
it just depends
But the
which
thing is,
chart you go off of.
yeah. The thing is that I get roped into millennials more than I would Gen Xers. You, Danny, may get roped more into the Gen Xers.
I thought I was a Gen Xer, and then I thought I was a millennial, and then I was just confused.
And that's really the whole point of this whole topic, is that we don't know where we belong. I mean, think of it. I mean, at work, I work in the construction industry. I don't have any calluses on my hands, so I'm not swinging any hammers. But I'm in the office. I'm bringing people in interviews all the time, and I can tell you, I have many conversations with a lot of these managers and like foremen, superintendents, and everything that are used to doing things a certain way. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, you introduce this new generation of millennials, and everything's getting screwed up. And I can't tell you how many times I hear something that's like, "Stupid millennials." They expect everything to be handed to them on a plate. Mm-hmm. But on the other side, all the millennials are looking at all the Gen Xers, and they're like, "You guys have seriously ruined this world."
Yeah.
And like the economy crash and everything. All Gen Xers. And
Climate stuff.
yeah, climate change. That's all being thrown. Things are going back and forth. They're not all the same things, but it's just millennials are lazy and they are they're entitled, while the Gen Xers are stubborn and just are not willing to listen and to change with the times.
So have you guys heard, have you heard this song? It's been popular on YouTube. Let me just play a part of it really quick.
Yes, I have heard this.
There he sits inside your local coffee shop, sporting a main bun and facial hair. Somehow he believes, although he has no job, that by his 30s he will be a millionaire. M-I-L-L-E-N-N-I-A-L, gotta love millennials.
So
I've heard
that's
that.
You Gotta Love Millennials by Micah Tyler, if you guys want to find it on YouTube.
So like I said before, I tend to get roped into the millennials. But the problem is that I don't identify with them at all. And whether it's correct or not, I have a pretty good work ethic. Like, and trust me, I deal with millennial type ideals on a daily. I mean, I bring people in, and it's almost as if like they don't get that when you get a job that like you should go. Like you should show up.
It's just like what's the not optimal. Optional.
Yeah.
That's the word. I'm looking
Like,
for.
yeah, it's optional. Work is optional. It's like, no, we hired you to do a job. We expect you to do it. But I'm not just limiting it to millennials. I have tons of Gen Xers too that do the same thing. And I don't get it. I mean, like, I show up to work every day unless I'm sick or on vacation. But people are just like, oh, I just don't feel like it today.
And if you're sick, you're like calling them and you're like, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, and most of the time, I mean, I go to work as long as I know I'm not like contagious or anything like that. Like, I'm at work even when I'm not feeling good, even with a man cold.
That's impossible.
Those are the worst ever. But
no man could even stand with the man cold.
Yeah, exactly. So people like us can sit there and we wonder, where do we belong? So I've
Well, so is like, is the one of like the millennial things where you get? I don't agree with how sports these days with kids works. Where
it's the mentality that everybody gets a trophy
just for participating, like a participation trophy. Doesn't matter if you won, like to the point where they don't even keep score in certain kids' games, leagues.
I think it depends on the certain. Having kids and now having them participate in extracurricular activities such as sports, things like that. Like my daughter's in softball. The first year, no outs, no scoring, no nothing. Same thing like
every
T-ball. Every kid gets to get up, hit the ball. When we're out in the field, it's all a teaching moment, and I get that. But it is once you get to like a more competitive level, you can't teach kids that, that everyone's a winner in these situations because there is let's face it, it's life. There's disappointment.
You have to compete with other adults in regular adult life.
Yeah.
For jobs, for opportunities. You have to get an education so that you're qualified more than this other person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
It's
completely
like the
agree.
Comedian Bent Washburn. Have you guys seen him? I know I talk about him from time to time, but he has a whole joke where he's like, one of these years I'm just going to put cat turds in the Easter eggs that I hide for the Easter egg for my kids. And so like the kids will find them and they'll be all excited and they'll open it and I'm like, Dad, what is this? He's like, life is just a cat turd and an Easter egg. It's not fair.
So I've basically come up with some questions. So if you are like me, and I know I've given you the years that are typically those in this nameless generation, but if you're sitting there wondering like, oh, do I belong in this group of people, even though maybe for you, Al, like I said, it's typically up to about 1985. But like I said, there are no definite lines. And so here are a few questions that you can ask yourself to try and see if you belong with us.
So to like Trav's point, so I just pulled 3 different sources that are kind of going through like naming what each generation is. One source says that Gen X goes from 1965 to 1981, and millennials start in 1982 and go to 2000. Mm-hmm. Another source says that Gen X goes from 1965 to 1979, millennials start in 1980 and go to 2000. Another source says that Gen X goes from 1965 to 1979, millennials go from 1980 to 1994. But they also put in overlapping Zennials, like you talked about, from 1975 to 1985. Mm-hmm. So just every single source has like a slightly different.
There's not a definite line. So here's some things to think about. So let's start with this one. Do you remember walking into the computer lab in elementary school to see all of the Apple IIe models set to the Oregon Trail start screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Then you are most likely. A Nameless Generation. I mean, that was probably, I think for all of us, that is the best time of elementary school. You're like
the
walking
Oregon
in.
Trail.
Yeah, you're walking in. I mean, there's these like little tiny computers, black screens, green words and letters, and you know, you just sit down and you pick your family and you always name them like Poop Face.
Wait, were these the ones where the monitors like they had the color back, like the blue color on them, or like the
No, this
whoa,
is before.
whoa.
Okay, Alan,
You're a millennial.
You may not be one of us.
I played Oregon Trail.
Well, Oregon Trail has
Different iterations.
developed. I think they still can play Oregon Trail to this day. We're talking about the original.
Literally just everything is in green. There is no other color that is displayed on the screen. But I remember, maybe I don't know, you would have had it slightly because I went to a different elementary school than you, Trav. But like, I remember we would go into computer time. And I think in hindsight, it was probably 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Is how much time we got. But you went in and you had to we always made banners. I don't know why. But like it was back when they had the dot matrix printers, and so like the paper was stuck together.
Oh yeah.
So you could make a banner. So I'd be like, happy birthday. And then I'd print it out on like 4 sheets of paper. And then I'd have my banner, my happy birthday banner. Well, that would take like 15 minutes of computer class time. But after you were done with your banner project, then you got to play whatever you want to do. And obviously, Oregon Trail was my go-to.
I never made banners.
See,
We just went in.
either.
We played Oregon Trail, but I would tell you, I always got pissed because with the allotted time that they give you, you can never make it
finish,
to the
yeah.
end of the freaking Oregon Trail.
I know.
And I always died of dysentery.
And the funnest part of that whole game was to go hunting.
Yeah, but you can't stop
but
and
you
hunt
can't-
for too long.
Yeah, because you aren't going to make it. And like, when you had to pick your supplies at the beginning of the game, like, I would never really get food because I'm like, I'll hunt for food. But I was loading up on oxen and wheels.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
every time I crossed a river, I lost half my oxen
Yeah.
and I would break a wheel. And I would have to fix it and get some more and then
And
go
all your
hunting.
family dies.
Yeah.
Was going back to your banners you were printing, was this the paper that it was like all perforated and stuck together, and then on the ends it had like the strips with,
Yeah,
the
with little
holes in
dots
it,
in it, yeah.
that you always had to like fold and then rip off?
Yep.
All right, so
That's what I said when I said I printed my banners on those sheets of paper that were stuck together.
he just said it in a different way.
Yeah, but I
yes.
described it more.
You did.
So how
But
about
that's exactly what I was talking about.
So how about this? Can you remember the days before cell phones? Which a lot of people can say yes, but now we can remember the days before
How
cell
about this?
phones.
Can you remember high school without a cell phone?
Yes. But now we can use them to their full potential without thinking, just like any millennial or Gen Zer,
Yeah.
since that's the next generation after millennials.
Or I've heard iGen.
iGen, whatever. But how about this one?
Because of like Apple.
Yeah. So like the little iGen.
Wow.
Do you guys remember? Now, this is where I don't necessarily remember the first one. I remember my first one, but do you remember the first computer in your household?
Yes.
Was it a compact? Was it that one?
No,
That
we had a 486, I think, was our first computer. And again, it was back to the green screen kind of computer. And anytime you wanted to, like, the only thing I ever did on it was I wanted to play games, very simple games. And I would have to use command lines because there was no such thing as point and click. It was all, you just had to be like, / run Oregon Trail.
Yeah. Now, I don't remember mine, but I remember my grandfather's because he had one in his room, and it had like the green screen. We'd always play golf on it. They were just like the very, very pixelated people, and you'd just hit this little square, and it would go. Then later on, he actually got a better or a new, improved computer, and we still played golf, but this time it had words that would come out, and I'd always hit it and it'd go into like the rough, and this guy would come on and he'd go, "That's in the deep stuff." And I'd be like, stupid computer. But anyway, so interesting note, Gen Xers were already fully grown teens by the time that computers became like a normal household item. And millennials can't even remember a time before computers. So if you are kind of in that area where you're like,
You were young,
you
but
were
you
young
can
enough.
remember getting one.
Yeah, you can remember getting one. I mean, yeah, millennials are just like, yeah, for all I've known, I've always had a computer.
Yeah.
And I remember definitely not having computers in my household.
And so the one that Alan's talking about is, yes, our second computer we got was like a compact computer. And that was the one that like had a 4, what was it? Or maybe it's a 2 gigabyte hard drive or something like that. But whoa, we were just like,
2 gigs.
there is no way we are ever going to fill this up. This computer, we could put stuff on it for the rest of our lives and we'll never fill it up. But now we all know 2 gigs just ain't what it used to be.
How about
And I don't know if this is something you're going to mention, but the freaking square discs that you save.
Oh, yeah, the
stuff on.
floppy disks?
Floppy disks, yeah.
Yeah, you never touch the window.
Yeah.
You never open up that little window.
So do you
That is a
remember?
no-no.
You remember the 3.5-inch floppies?
Yeah.
Do you remember the 5.5-inch
I
floppies?
don't remember the bigger, more floppier ones.
I
Because in my head,
remember
it's always
5.5
been like, in my head, I'm always like, why do they call these ones floppy disks when those ones are more floppy?
I got a 5-inch floppy, flaccid.
I was like, these ones are pretty sturdy compared to those other 5-inch ones.
Yeah. Well, they were originally, they were actually floppy, but then they became not as floppy, but they still called them floppy.
So how about this? Do you remember coming home from middle school, dropping your backpack on the floor or wherever you'd throw it, grabbing a quick snack, and then heading straight to the computer to hear those 3 wonderful words? You've got mail.
I do.
I never got mail. Because who's going to be sending email like at that age? Like, and it's just in its infancy. Like, email was in its infancy, and it's like, who would be sending me mail?
But you've got mail.
But it's like, and then we, I just put in here, just side note, remember how long it took to dial up, which we now know because you played it. But yeah, I just remember. So, and then the funny thing is that was connected to our, to your phone line. So if somebody, like,
Yeah.
you're on the, you're online or whatever, and then all of a sudden somebody picks up the phone and you're like, son of a God!
Like disconnect. Or the flip side, you pick up the phone and you just hear that. You're like, dang it.
I was downloading a 2 kilobyte file.
Yeah, back then, though, if you remember, that was the 56K modems were when you had America Online, and that was like the fastest internet. And people are like, oh, 56K.
So
If a millennial had to play on or how to use a 56K modem now, they would
oh my
kill
gosh.
themselves.
They would throw the computer before it.
I want it now. I clicked on it like 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, because now it's like,
And it's still loading from the top down.
now we're like, it's not gigabit speeds. That sucks.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
then
But,
like you can even get up to, I've seen offers for 10 gigabit per second speeds.
yeah, no, I mean it's definitely like young kids nowadays.
And with
would have no
Starlink.
idea. there would be no such thing as streaming anything. And then like for me, half the fun of going to a website was like playing the game of just like, guess what this picture is, because it just like load like one little square and one little line at a time. Just
Yeah. Well, and I hate to ask this next question because I know the answer to it. But did you ever jump in and out of sketchy chat rooms? I know Danny and I sure did.
Trav and I may have had a fun night or two with the sketchy chat rooms.
It's just weird. You go in and you're just like, all right, we're going to talk to some. I mean, this is the first time that anybody was ever really able to just talk to random people without having to actually face them or like
or know who they
or
were,
know
like
who they
have
were.
a phone number or something.
Like you could literally be anybody, and that's why it's so scary because you had a bunch of pervs on there. But you could go. I mean, they had chat rooms for everything. It was like the beginning of the gross world that we live in right now. But
Remember this movie?
So leave it
and-
up to two like teenage boys who are just like barely learning this new world. And, you know, you go on there, you're like, there's a chat room for hamburgers. There's a chat room for robots. There's a chat room for lesbians.
Let's go to
that one.
And pretend that we're a lesbian.
Oh yeah, no, you can't go in there and not be a lesbian.
So they would immediately know. If you
Well, that's the thing.
if you went
couldn't
into
know-
the
see
lesbian
anything.
chat room and your first thing was, "Hey guys,"
Sup, dudes?
but do you guys remember this movie? This was for some reason I've always liked this movie. I thought it was an awesome movie. Is The Net with Sandra Bullock? I like
she got
that
her
movie.
identity stolen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never saw it. I know what it is, but I never saw it.
But that was supposed to be like so advanced too.
I know.
She was like a super computer hacker or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, so the next one here. Do you remember when MTV was just a channel that played nothing but music videos?
Yes, I do.
None of this like TRL. I mean, I don't even think they play music videos anymore.
I remember when they started playing Video Kill the Radio. Just kidding. I don't really remember that
mean,
because that was the year before I was born.
If you liked or wanted to see a video, you literally had to just turn it on and watch and watch and watch until finally it came on. There was even like another TV.
Yeah,
station.
I talked about this not too long ago. I told my son Kai about it. But
The box?
the box.
The box.
That you, for $1.99, you could call into this number and request a music video. But the thing is, you still didn't know when your music video was going to come up.
You had to just sit and wait for it.
And you were just
And when it came on, you're like,
I paid for that.
Paid for
but
that.
there's probably really like 700 people that paid for that video to come on. Like,
so cheap. But, so we had to sit there and wait for him. But then, just as we started to hit puberty, and we've already kind of mentioned a little bit about this, but the internet went into full force. And all of a sudden, we had endless access to all of these things that we previously didn't. The previous generations, they couldn't comprehend it. And of course, the millennials have just always had internet. And so it's like we're in a position, we were the first generation to be able to basically do a book report or a research paper. Mm-hmm. But we did it both ways. We used the card catalog. We went to the library. We used the Dewey Decimal System.
we used the Britannica.
Encyclopedia Britannicas. I mean, you had those. Everybody had to have those in their house because
actual encyclopedia is not Wikipedia.
Yeah, no. How else would you know information?
But if you think about it, if you want to go back, if you really think about it, like think about being a teacher in the 70s and 80s, like you would assign like a report on a certain subject to your students and you would probably get 30 papers that were like almost identical because everyone was getting their information from Encyclopedia Britannica, basically.
Yeah. That's why, I mean, you see in like TV shows and stuff like back like in the 90s, like they had like, I mean, I remember I don't think you could just go to like a store and buy encyclopedias. They had salesmen for that.
Mm-hmm. They went door to door.
Door to door salesmen for Encyclopedia Britannicas. Just like I've always been, I mean, they still have them today. They're a little bit more advanced or whatever, but still like vacuum salesmen. I'm like, let's go to freaking Walmart and get a Dyson. So like, I don't need you coming to my door.
Here's the kicker. My parents never purchased us an Encyclopedia Britannica set. Okay? Because, granted, they were expensive.
Yeah.
Well,
they were like $50 a book.
I went to Price Savers once when I was a kid. I was like 11 or 12. And they had this cheap knockoff version of Encyclopedia set for sale for like $40. And so I talked my dad into letting me purchase it on my own with the money that I earned working in my grandma's yard.
Like, Dad, please, I yearn for knowledge.
So he let me buy it. But like, yeah, it was like this little set that, I mean, I'm showing these guys, but it's probably like from end to end, it was probably about 2.5 feet. So a lot smaller than Encyclopedia Britannica. So there's a lot less knowledge in there. But I just read through those and just soaked up everything I possibly could.
Nerd.
At an early age. Because
I only looked in those things if I needed to. I didn't do it for fun.
Oh, yeah. And these didn't come with color pictures. Every picture that there was in there was black and white.
Oh.
So
those to me
And
were basically just dictionaries.
God
but-
forbid you could only afford one volume.
wasn't that like a Friends episode?
Again, I always bring up Joey and Friends.
You love.
He can only afford to buy the V volume or something like that of the encyclopedia. And so he
he's
wants
like,
to
"What are you guys talking about?"
Are you talking about Vietnam? Volcanoes?
That's right.
What's another V word?
Virginia?
So, I mean, we were the first in that category, but we were also the last group of people to have a childhood devoid of technology. Now, I mean, 2-year-olds can operate a smartphone just as good as anybody. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, my kids, that's what they do. Like, I can't tell you how annoying it is. And it's my own damn fault, but your kids are bugging you. You're like, here, watch this screen.
That's true.
And so then after that, it's like, Dad, can I have your phone? Can I have your phone? Can I have your phone? I'm like, there is a television right there. It's like
a giant phone.
It's like 50 of these put together, and you want my phone. Yeah. But so
I found out a cheat code though on games on your phone. So any game that you want to you have to collect like a lot of coins or something like that to then be able to purchase like enhancements in the game or something. Mm-hmm. I figured out the cheat code because I don't want to sit there and play mundane games just to finally get to like this coin count that I need to purchase something. So you teach your little ones how to play the game. They play it for hours on end, and then you just pop in there like a month later, and you got so many coins that you can purchase anything you want in the game.
Yeah. We were also the last group of people to live life before things like sexting, Facebook shaming, and constant communication. So for example, and this is going to kind of lead into my next little portion here. I think we've mentioned this before somewhere. I mean, I've talked about it a lot, at least we have. But, we were going to high school, and I was waiting for you guys to come pick me up from my house so you could take me to school. And you guys were always so damn slow. I seriously don't know what you guys did in the morning. Slept. I know you guys overslept all the time. But so I'm sitting here, and every single morning, I couldn't just send you a text and be like, hey, where the hell are you? I had to pick up the phone, and the whole time I'm just dialing, and I'm like, please don't be their dad. Please don't be their dad. And the only reason why is because I know he was annoyed at me every single time because I called every morning because you guys couldn't come pick me up on time. So every time I'd be like, hello? I'd be like, is Steve or Danny there? No. And then he's like, hold on. Because I know he's pissed because he'd have to leave his room. No, he wasn't dressed. He had to go get you guys. But because you guys were all the way downstairs. And so that was the thing. Everything was unknown.
It came back to bite me too a couple times because Trav knows who this is. I don't need to name any names, but I was dating a girl in high school who lived about 3.2 miles away from my house at the time. Well, my car broke down between my junior and senior year, I think. So I had a rollerblade everywhere because I couldn't afford to fix my car at that point. And so I remember I would literally rollerblade the 3.2 miles, and I just had a hope that she was home.
Yes, that's right.
Because I couldn't call or text her to find out. So I'm like, if she's not home, it's going to suck. Because then I got to rollerblade 3.2 miles back.
Yep.
So yes, it did suck. But I mean, we didn't know any different at the time.
Yeah. But looking back on it, it sucked. We used payphones. We showed up at each other's houses without warning. We often spoke to our friends' parents before we got to speak to them. And we had to wait at least an hour to see any photos we had taken because you had to go get them developed. But for the group of kids, just a little younger than us, the whole world changed. And that's not an exaggeration. In fact, it's very possible that you had a completely different childhood experience than a sibling just 5 years your junior, which is seriously, like, it's crazy. It's like my brother, he's 5 years younger than I am.
Yeah. Well, it's my sister.
Yeah.
Like, she had a very different childhood.
Completely different.
I did.
From, I mean, just things that, I mean, it's not like they're morons, but they...
Well, thank you guys.
But I guess my point is I'm saying, like, if we talk about, you know, encyclopedias, it's not like they're like, what? What was an encyclopedia? You know, they know what it is.
It's called Wikipedia.
Because, I mean, they lived through a lot of the same stuff we did. It's just that it was just a different time. That's how quickly things changed. How about this one? Do you guys know who Sean Parker is?
Yep. Napster.
Oh my goodness.
The real guy who invented Napster was Seth Green character from
Italian Job.
The Italian Job, yeah. So we were in our late high school to early college years when this amazing thing happened. I mean, people who, like Gen Xers, they, you know, had their cassettes and, I mean, they had CDs and things like that, but all of a sudden, you could go online and you could just click on a freaking song, and within seconds, it was on your hard drive, and you could then burn them to CDs, and
it's not entirely true.
What?
It did not take seconds.
Oh, it did.
It took minutes.
No, I remember it took seconds for mine.
Well, you must have.
We had a fast. My stepfather at the time was a computer programmer, so yeah, we had a fast connection.
And not only that, like, you never knew if the file.
Entirely true.
But like, not only that, you never knew which files were actually like.
That is true. You had
so you might
no
have
clue.
to download like several files
Because some of them would like come in and they'd be like
quality.
just the first like 30 seconds or something,
or
but
like
that
terrible quality.
Didn't matter. You got to download songs like real quick, and you could choose any song you wanted, and you would have them. I mean, soon after Napster went down, then other things started popping up like LimeWire, BearShare, and all that type of stuff. But it all started with Napster, and eventually, I mean, think of how
and now it's just Spotify.
Yeah, now
Pandora,
everything
all
like
those iMusic or whatever they have.
Apple Music.
Yeah, we were the first to experience the beauty of sharing and downloading mass amounts of music faster than, in this article, it says faster than you can say third eye blind, which made the adoption of MP3 players and music streaming apps perfectly natural. Yet we still distinctly remember buying cassette singles, joining those, and I know you did this, joining those stupid scam-tastic CD clubs and recording songs onto tapes from the radio. The very nature of buying and listening to music changed completely within the first 20 years of our lives. Like, I mean, I remember listening to vinyl and then to cassette.
We had big, like my dad had like a bunch of vinyl records.
Yeah. And then I remember getting our first CD player. I remember getting my first CD. It was freaking Salt and Pepper.
I think mine was the Michael Jackson's History album.
Okay. I actually remember you having that.
Yeah. So it was like it was a double
first
CD album.
was Ace of Base. I saw the sign.
I'm sorry, but of all of our first CDs, mine was the best.
Yeah, but that wasn't available to us back in those days. So we did the best with what we had. I mean, at least I did. Ace of Base.
I saw the sign. It opened up my eyes. I saw the sign.
Don't turn around.
Most of us were able to escape high school and college before social media ruined everyone's privacy. And I think that's why, like, a lot of times, like, I feel immune to it. Like, anything like cyberbullying or anything like that just seems stupid to me because I'm like, turn it off or, completely ignore you because you're not a real person. Like, I can't see you.
I don't even know who you are.
I don't care. So I don't care.
Yeah.
Call me fat, call me ugly. I don't, whatever.
Do you know how many times I've gone to bed and been like, Ricky Bobby 74936 is freaking making fun of me again?
Ricky Bobby.
Talladega.
But although we have escaped having social media, during what is probably the most vulnerable part of our lives, unlike Gen Xers, we were young and dumb enough to really get into MySpace and Facebook. So, like, even though it doesn't affect us, we still are a big part of Facebook. And I mean, MySpace was, I think, started in 2003. It's pretty much over in 2004 because that's when Facebook was available to at least college students. So, I mean, that was a quick-lived thing. But
So, I mean, no, MySpace was a little longer than that because it was around about the time my son was born in 2005 still. So, it was probably like 2006.
Well, I think that's why I said, like, 2004 was when Facebook came out to just college students. It wasn't that big of a thing. So, MySpace was still going. It's just about a year or so after Facebook was originally released, that's when everybody, I mean, I didn't have like a Facebook page until probably like 2007 because my wife wanted to put on there that we were in a relationship and I didn't have a Facebook page. So she created one for me.
Yeah.
So the one I have today was created by my wife or my girlfriend at the time.
Like, mine was created by a girl that I was dating at the time too. And then before that, when I was still dating my first son Kai's mom, she thought it would be I don't know if it was her or like one of her friends, but they thought it'd be funny to create my MySpace profile and then put my sexual orientation as gay. But I didn't even know this. I never really used it. So still to this day, I probably am gay. On MySpace. Not in real life.
We need to just take that clip. Alan, we just need to take that clip and just use that as like a trailer for this. This
has got to be another lost episode. We can't release this episode.
Oh no, we're releasing it. But anyway, so this is the last thing I have to say about this whole subject, and then we'll wrap up. But if you have listened to this and had incredible nostalgic feelings, and if you've pretty much answered yes to all of the questions that I proposed, then you are one of the nameless. So welcome, my friends. There aren't too many of us, and
it's a good club to be in.
And although we may feel lost at times and that we don't belong, trust me, there really isn't a better generation to be a part of. Nobody else can say the same things that we can. We are literally walking two lines. And so it's kind of weird because seriously, like, I mean,
no one else can say that probably to this day I'm still gay on MySpace.
I mean, it
takes a special.
It's sad now that I'm getting to the point where, like, man, I'm hiring kids, like high school kids at work, and I talk to them about, when they come in, I say, hey, what's your favorite movie, band, or whatever? And their movies are like, Avengers Endgame. I'm like, that literally came out months ago. Like, not even months. Like last month. Have you seen a movie before that? Like, that is probably the last one you saw, so that's why you said it. And I'm like, let me tell you mine. Saving Private Ryan. 1998. What year were you born? 2002. Okay, I just it came out before you were born. That is super weird to me, But yeah, we've been able to live both lives, and it's actually a really cool feeling. But anyway, that's that. That is who the Nameless Generation is. Anything else you guys want to say before we wrap up here?
No, I mean, I thought that was fun conversation, though. Just brought back some good old memories.
Good old memories. So I'll just end by, thanking every one of you for listening. Remember, go and comment, and please, we like all the reviews and everything, but we're trying to get our subscribers on YouTube up a little bit further to 1,000. So we have like 980 or 977 left. So anybody can go and just click just go and click subscribe.
Apparently, we're getting views, but we're not getting the
views.
subscribers.
Yeah, and we're going to be putting a lot more videos on there too. So it's just as things develop and we're able to do more things, you'll see a lot more on there. But thanks again, guys. Don't forget to visit our social media pages at Q Code Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and of course. Our podcast is anywhere that you listen to podcasts, which I think that's false, but on the big ones.
Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher. But I think
Tune in.
even the smaller platforms typically pull from these larger platforms.
Yeah, so
anyway,
there are some we probably don't even know we're on.
But they're pulling our information on them. So,
of course, you can visit our website at qcodepodcast.com. And, of course, we can, just have conversations there, interact, and just let us know if there's anything that you want to learn. But, all right, thank you very much for listening, and we will see you next week.